Hello and welcome to another episode of Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. We're 2 rounds into the NBL season, and I'm not sure we've ever seen a more dramatic round of NBL action. So let's get straight into the action. I'm Chris Pike, your co-host, but the man you all want to get his opinions of, Damian Martin, the defensive legend, the has-been. How do we find you this week?
It was incredible. We're talking off air. Sunday alone had more content out of those 3 games.
Yeah.
The dunks, the highlight plays, a double overtime game, clutch shots, fights. That was just Sunday. We obviously had Friday and Saturday as well. Look, incredible round of basketball. The ability that's out there, the skill set that's on show, just amazing. And the passion. It did boil over a few times. And that rivalry, we'll get into a little bit more later, that rivalry between Melbourne and Southeast, it's real. And it's only going to continue to build after what happened between Creaky and Peatling.
Peatling and Delhi was in the middle of it too, obviously. Unbelievable. I mean, normally we just try to catch up a bit at the start of each episode, Damo, but I don't think we have time to this week. We need to get straight into talking about everything that happened. Thanks to Hoop 7 for making it happen. And, of course, we'll speak to Adam Gibson shortly as well. And no better time to speak to somebody involved in the Phoenix camp.
Well, Gibbo, he's there. He's sitting alongside the team. We'll ask him why he's not playing. I can't believe he's not a contracted player. But, hey, he is helping out from a coaching point of view. He lives with Mitch Creek. So he might be able to give us a behind the scenes, how Mitch responded behind closed doors once he calmed down a little bit. So looking forward to having the great man, Adam Gibson, on a little later. But what was your take on the play? Starting with the dunk.
Well,
the dunk was
let's get straight to it. It was Sunday. It was the throwdown. Back in the first time they'd played in front of a big crowd at John Cain Arena. So the scene was set for something special.
Matthew Dellavedova, first time for Melbourne United.
Absolutely. So the stage was set, and the Phoenix had given up another big lead again, like they did in Game 3 of the semi-finals. But then it was late in the third quarter. Obviously, the Phoenix got the steal. Liafa dished off to Mitch Creek, and Daly's never going to see someone coming at him that he's not going to challenge. Let's be honest.
Right.
Whether he's got a chance of affecting the dunk or not, he's always going to challenge it. So full credit to him for going up against a raging bull. Mitch Creek had a hell of a steam up, and that was the most incredible dunk that I would say almost we've ever seen in the NBL. And he did it with his non-preferred right hand too.
I was going to say, the one I probably prefer, just because, no offence to Delhi, but he's only 6'3", the one I prefer, another leaner, Casey Prather over AJ Ogilvy. And that was a facial, an N1. It was big time. But as far as the photos that have come out from this dunk, Creaky was well above the ring. Delhi's gone for it. Delhi's never given up on any play in his whole life, so he knew he was going to try and contest. It just had it all. And then Creaky caught up in the moment. Big steal, big dunk. Yep. Yells in his face.
Daly was on the ground. He flexed and he celebrated. Do you have any problem with Creaky doing that?
No, not at all, because the emotions run high. That was a huge play. Now, had he bent his knees and really got in his face, that's one thing. It was almost just a sheer excitement and flex with a bit of scream to go with it. So had they just continued on and nothing eventuated, fair game. Next play, take the ball out of bounds. Delhi would have moved straight on. Yep. He would have caught the ball, run the point guard position. Instead.
Well, you're right. I think everything had simmered down, but then Mason Peatling comes in and gives a decent hip and shoulder to Creaky. That was a nice bump to his chin. Do you have a problem with Mason doing that, or do you like your teammate sticking up for his teammate?
No, there is a line. You're going to stick up for your teammate, but if you're going to do the push and shove, the rah-rah, then you don't go in with a cheap shot. You go and grab the man.
So you think it was a cheap shot?
Oh, yeah. He's not looking, completely turns, run straight through him. It was just one of those ones. Even I think he's come out and said, look, I was standing up for a teammate. I saw it as a disrespectful act, but I've got to be able to calm myself and handle it a better way. So there's a way to deal with it. But this one obviously triggered everyone. Before you knew it, you got Dave Barlow off the bench. You've got the referees are trying to pull back Mitch Creek. Mitch got out of that one pretty quickly. Yep. Look, there was a lot of players involved, a lot of guys facing the tribunal tonight. To be honest, I'm hoping there's no suspensions out of it. I thought the referees...
Is Peatling the one that might get suspended?
I think he's the only one that is a chance. But in saying that, I think the ejection was enough. No one got hurt from it. It really was just a hip and maybe a little bit of shoulder, more chest than anything. So I don't think Creaky's going to be waking up with any bruises. And
well, he was feeling his jaw afterwards, in fairness. So I wonder if it wasn't maybe a bit harder of a hit than we thought.
We'll ask Gibbo. We'll see if he's being able to chew down on steak sandwiches the last couple of days.
Can you eat a steak yet?
Oh, it's always a risk. With this jaw and these teeth, it's a risk. But yeah, we'll ask Gibbo. Well, I'd love to hear his thoughts because, like I said at the top of the show, he's housemates with Creaky himself. I thought Creaky had that split second of what am I going to do here? And then boom, he was off into the races trying to chase him down.
What about what it does for the league overall? I mean, the league's going to use this as a promo for forever. It's already got 10 million views across social media globally. It was a major play on SportsCenter. What can it do for the profile of the league?
Oh, look, one, it shows that it's a genuine rivalry between these two teams. Two, the emotions fly when you are invested in the game, and fans, commentators, everyone wants to see that. So I had nothing wrong with it. No punches were thrown or anything ridiculous like that. Instead, it was two teams who genuinely don't like each other going at it in an incredible game. We haven't even touched on the 7 block shots each side. Anyway, there's a lot to talk about.
Well, there is, and
it was amazing.
There was more drama. I want to get your thoughts on a couple of things, Damo. Plug your earphones in. I'm going to play you a couple of little grabs from the game as well. So here's the first one when Zhou Qi missed a couple of free throws and gave the people of Victoria a free cheeseburger. Tell me what you make of this.
Why not? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. He probably doesn't understand what we're saying. Come on, Wayne.
Do you have a problem with that, Damo?
What was it? I couldn't quite hear.
So it's the court announcer at Melbourne United games, Wayne Peterson, saying that
I know Wayne. Yeah,
saying that Zhou Qi missed it, but he probably doesn't even understand what we're saying.
Oh, yeah. There is a fine line between what's funny and what might be crossing it. Oh, I know him personally, so I've got a biased opinion. He's a good guy. He loves his Melbourne. Don't worry about that.
Isn't his first controversial incident though?
Okay, I was going to say, so it doesn't matter how good of a guy you are if you say something that crosses the line.
Does that cross the line in your mind?
I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's very much borderline. I think it's insinuating that a guy
has anything come from it.
So he's admitted that he said the wrong thing, and Melbourne suspended him for 2 games. And so I'd
love to hear him chat to the player and get an understanding.
He's apologised to Zhou Qi himself, so I think Joe would have accepted his apology. But I think it's borderline racism, I think, just by assuming a guy from China can't speak English. We know that Joe actually can speak English and can understand English. So he was trying to be funny, and I understand that. You want to support your team. But at the same time, there's a big Chinese audience in Melbourne that are now coming to games to watch Zhou Qi. And some of them have come out and said that they were offended by the comments themselves sitting in the crowd.
Well, then that's enough said. Then it is inappropriate. That's all you need to hear to know that it was wrong. It's silly me commenting on it, but when they've come out and said, we're here to support our team. We're here to enjoy it. It's a family-friendly atmosphere. Those comments are a no-no, then it's a no-no.
Now, another comment, that this time from Dean Vickerman. Now,
I think I know which one you're about to play here.
Take a listen to this, Damo.
Shitty offensive possession. Yep, I thought the post-up was good for you early, but we didn't have it, so move the ball and get back to an on-ball that was good for us. You go one-on-one attack, go ahead and score on Kyle Adnam. He's the fucking shittiest little defender in the league. Go ahead and score on him, all right? You have to make that play.
What are your thoughts on that? This is a player that Dean had coached, obviously, at Melbourne and won a championship with.
Yeah, well, Kyle's definitely not the worst offender in the league, first and foremost. Look, when the camera's in there and the microphones are in there, I think coaches have to pay more attention to that. I mean, you're aware that every second time out, you're going to have people listening in on what you're saying. When you're a coach, you are really trying to instill confidence in a player.
And in fairness to Dean, what he was trying to say to Caleb Agada was be aggressive,
no one
attack.
Can guard you,
that's what he was trying to say.
And so that's where I'm coming from. When you're a coach, you are trying to instill a level of confidence so that when you call a play, you're like, yep, I'm about to go drop 2 points here, 3 points. It's calling someone out on there. That's not the right way to go about it. And, Vickerman's one of the great coaches in the league. Yeah. And I dare say he would have personally called Kyle afterwards and said, got the better of me in the moment. But
do you use that as motivation moving forward if you're Kyle Adnam, though?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you'd be out to a point to prove. I mean, Kyle's one of the most improved players consistently over the last 3 seasons. Now he's a captain of South East Melbourne. He's continuing to have a great career, and that'll only continue to get better. better. So, yeah, it was an interesting play to go at because Kyle plays as hard as anyone at both ends of the court.
Let's stay on that game. The impact that Zhou Qi had was absolutely unbelievable. Even if he didn't score and he didn't collect a rebound, he's 7 block shots, and I reckon that's probably under. Yeah. And he changed at least 15 shots from Melbourne as well. I don't know if we've seen a big guy with that sort of defensive presence for a long time.
No, well, look, Bogut healthy, he had that presence. Bogut was incredible. And a lot of the things he did, you didn't even see on the box score. Similar, I know we saw 7 block shots, but similar performances were Bogut's in the key. You either have a very good float game and get a bit of height to it, or you're kicking it out. There's a few plays in particular that I can remember that they passed down open looks essentially in the keyway to kick it out for a contested 3. And that's the impact that great centres with good timing, time their jump well, know the game, read it. Yeah, so apart from Andrew Bogut, you know, I know there's been more players in between, but Simon Dwight is the next one that comes to mind with that type of shot blocking influence.
It was a lot of fun watching his battle with Joe Luala-Chul as well. He had 7 blocks himself.
I was going to say, it's 7 and 7. First time in the NBL that a player from either side has had 7 blocks each in the same game. It was amazing. I mean, we talk about his scoring ability. JLA, just one of the best natural scorers in the league. But some of those blocks, he was chasing down, getting back in transition, you know, blocking 3-point shots from behind. He had a bit of it all. So, you know I've got my 3-2-1s coming up shortly with the Best Defensive Player Award. And I apologise in advance. He should have at least got 1 point with 7 blocks. That's crazy. Maybe I'll bump someone out and throw him in there.
No, when we get to your votes, I think the 3 that you've got deserve their spot as well. I think it was Sean that even had Joe down as his best defensive player.
Is that right?
I think it was Sean. Yeah.
There we go. No, look, just a great game. Had everything: the dunks, the fighting, the block shots. Both teams going on runs throughout the course of the 40 minutes. Yeah, just a real highlight and a game that we'll reflect on and talk about for a long time.
And that was just one of the games on Sunday. Next up on Sunday was the 36ers coming from 19 points behind to beat the New Zealand Breakers. They outscored them 56-26 in the second half. Dusty Hannahs, who admitted to having a horrible first couple of games for the 36ers, and he admitted after the game that he was feeling pretty low about himself, and there was pressure from the outside on his spot already 2 games in, but he showed what his potential was and showed the bravado that he plays with and the fact that he loves to take big shots, and that was an important big comeback win for Adelaide. At the same time, pretty devastating for New Zealand.
Yeah, and I don't know if he could have had a better coach to have had him for the last 7 days. Yeah. You know, CJ Bruton, a big-time scorer, big-time shooter, but every scorer goes through lulls, and I think CJ, the confidence, just someone to have a chat in between those rounds. You know, I dare say CJ's played a big part in that turnaround, because you don't lose skill overnight, but you can lose confidence, and confidence can affect skill. And Hannah, with people saying we need to bring in new imports already, he hears that. He may not go online to read it, but he's certainly hearing it.
And he knows that Adelaide, I reckon, within a month at the start of last season, they'd already moved on Donald Sloan.
Exactly right. So, great game. It really was. And New Zealand were fantastic in that first half.
Talk to me about the shooting of Will McDowell-White and Hugo Besson in that first half. I think combined they went 11 of 13 from 3 just between those two. 41 points in the first half.
It was amazing. I started heading into the Wildcats game to commentate at halftime. I thought, good on the Breakers. They're about to notch up their first win. Instead, it went the other way. Adelaide got their first win, but I did not see that comeback happening. Took a huge effort, in particular, an individual performance, and a lot of fun to watch.
Then the last game on Sunday, the one you were at, double overtime, Wildcats and the Bullets. There was a lot of feeling in this one. I loved Lamar Patterson being so aggressive. Man. Vic Law wasn't shy. Bryce Cotton had a scoreless first half, but he bounced back from that. But in the end, it was probably Vic Law's replacement, Robert Franks, that stole the show.
Franks in that first half in particular, he's just everywhere. You know, whether it's getting deflections on rebounds, deflections on passes, running the lanes hard. He's just a high energy guy, super athletic, really strong, and first half, he kind of kept them in the game, and then they ended up going into the halftime with a lead, up 4. Second half, it was a battle of the stars. You know, kind of what we expected for the full 40 minutes. We only got for 20, initially 20, and then we had 2 lots of overtime, so it ended up being 30, but they were an amazing 30 minutes. Patterson and Sobey on one end, and then Vic Law and Bryce Cotton on the other.
And Patterson and Bryce both had pretty poor first halves, but that didn't last too long.
Well, so did Sobey. Yep. So Patterson had a great second quarter, and he just looked in control. I think he only had about 6 or 8 going into half, but watching with my biased Wildcats eyes on. Every time Patterson touched the ball, I thought, okay, he's the real danger man here. Franks is doing some good things, but Patterson looks locked in and ready to go. And then, came out of into that second half, and those 4 superstars were just amazing. So the first half, it was kind of that third player on each team, Franks v. Blanchfield. Great to have Toddy Blanchfield back for all Wildcat supporters. He was impressive with 11 in the first half, but the superstars took over in the second, and it's huge shots, huge
The end of regulation, Vic Law sort of was an isolated play and ended up taking the 3. Usually that's Bryce Cotton time. Are you happy for Vic to take over, or should have they found a way to get Bryce the ball?
No, look, when you're feeling it, you're feling it. Vic was shooting the ball a lot better than Bryce.
He's done it a lot of times against Brisbane, especially though, hasn't he?
He's hit 2 game winners.
Yeah.
As I was watching and commentating the game, I could just think Cam Bairstow is probably tuning in from somewhere going, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Big crossover, huge step back 3-pointer on Bairstow. Has hit another game winner on Gibbo, actually. Gibbo switched. Wasn't to be. Third time, not a charm for B Cotton. And credit to Brisbane, they were fantastic all night and got the win in the end, but the game had it all. So many big shots. Sobey was huge at both ends. You talk about Bryce. He and Sobey and Sunday Detch, I'll show you those 3 people into this, the fittest players in the league. They just don't stop moving. And then when you're scoring at one end, both guys trying to put points on the board and then guarding each other at the end, it was amazing. I just loved watching that matchup in particular.
And that was just Sunday. If we go back to Saturday, the Hawks and the Kings, there was so much build-up to the game off the court, but it delivered on the court as well. I mean, the game from Duop Reith was massive. The Kings were undermanned, and in fairness to them, they put up a hell of a fight. They were without RJ Hunter and Jalen Adams, their second import. Obviously, DJ Vasiljevic still not there. Jordan Hunter still not there as well. So they put up a great fight, but the Hawks had too much firepower in the end. But this game, 21 seconds left, caught fire as well.
Boiled over as well.
Hey, Angus Glover didn't like having his shot blocked from Sam Froling, and another little bit of a blue.
It was. It didn't quite escalate to the scale that the Melbournes did.
It kind of just set the tone for the next day, didn't it?
That's right. So a little taste of what was to come the following day. Look, Angus Glover, first and foremost, just great to have him out there. 3 ACL repairs, 2 on one knee, 1 on the other. He's just a superstar that's been plagued with injury. So 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Could have been 18 points. But indeed, he had that layup blocked.
And he ended up ejected after that.
Yeah, see you later. Look, that one was a bit of fun against 2 teams, again, that dislike each other immensely. But for me, even though there was that push and shove, the real story was Duop. He's showing why, after 2 rounds, he's probably the favourite for the MVP, albeit early days. Illawarra, they just got the best pickup in the off-season, I think. There's a lot of great imports. Duop's are local and showing why he was on that Australian Boomers team.
Yeah, absolutely. And he looks like a guy that really wants to get back to the NBA, doesn't he? I mean, he's come back here with a point to prove, and I think his relationship with Brian Goorjian's a big part of it. I think Gorge really instilled some confidence with him at the Olympics in that time together, and now it looks like it's a great pickup. And I reckon they've got 5 import quality players. Duop's absolutely could be an import. Jessup isn't technically an import, but could be. Then they've got 3 actual imports who are pretty good, with Cleveland now finding his feet. Ratton Mays is looking good, and obviously Tyler Harvey's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Look, I think they're going to go a long way. They're my pre-season prediction to make the grand final, and they're so far living up to the expectations I had for them, and I was excited to see what Duop would do. Sometimes you get guys come out here and it's a different style of play opposed to the NBA.
Well, a perfect example is Deng Adele last season, who couldn't find his feet.
And they released him, same team, same coach.
Yep.
Different,
same opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, same role pretty much.
But one guy's grabbed it with two hands and he's running with it. And just from all accounts, he sounds like a great guy as well. And so I'm loving what he's doing on the court.
Okay, there's a lot to cover there. It's now time to get onto our awards for this week, Damo. We'll start with the Damo Award, the Best Defensive Player Award. This is brought to you by Everlast Drinks. Before we get into your votes, tell us a bit about Everlast Drinks and how you got involved and why you would recommend them.
Oh, look, I'm an ambassador, and it is funny. So I'm on the side of the bottle, so I'm on the label, and occasionally I've had a couple of messages from current players. Brad Newley in particular took great pride in having a drink and then having a bit of a laugh, and more so the laugh than anything, because I am retired. I've got plenty of grey hair. That photo is clearly taken a long time ago when I was in the Australian Boomers, but just a great sports drink. So it's an isotonic sports drink. Perth boy. He got to the head of Coca-Cola, lived in Melbourne. If we wanted to advance any further, we had to move to America. And he thought, no, I've done everything I need to achieve in this brand of drink. I've learned a lot. I want to move back to Perth with my wife and kids. I'm going to start my own company, and he's developed these drinks. Everlast is obviously renowned for being one of the oldest brands for merchandise, in particular boxing and sporting apparel. And so we've got the rights to the beverages. So we've got isotonic, and now we've got some other drinks coming out as well, more than, similar to a nutrient water or a health drink. So great to be a part of it. Awesome guys behind the scenes, and don't get me wrong, there's going to be a few NBL teams hopefully drinking from those bottles soon, with hopefully some news to come.
Adelaide 36ers are one of them, and I love their post-match press conferences right now. They've got the 2 bottles set up in front, and CJ Bruden's staring at your face while he's talking to us.
He would be thinking, what is going on here? Is this some type of G-up? CJ had a way more illustrious career than I did, in particular in a Boomers jersey. He's probably like, if he can be on it, I'm a chance here, so maybe we'll have to get CJ on the next round.
12 championships between you. That's not bad. Let's get to your votes. I think let's start with your one vote, because this guy did a hell of a job on Bryce Cotton on Sunday.
Yeah, I mentioned him earlier. Nathan Sobey, he's credited for being one of the elite scorers in the league. A quiet first half offensively, but if you go back and watch how he was defensively, he was still everywhere. Picking up the ball full court, denying, top blocking, lock and trail. Whatever he did at the defensive end, it was at full speed, and it did not stop from the first minute to the 50th minute. It was just amazing. And, you can only have a few goals when you guard someone like Bryce Cotton, and one of them is to try and contest every shot, tick that box when it came to Sobey guarding him. The second one is try to run him off the line so he's out of rhythm, out of timing, and he did as good as he could with that one. So Bryce is a hell of a player, ends up putting on 18, 20, whatever it may have been, but they were hard to come by, and a lot of that has to do with Sobey. So just watching them up close and personal, brilliant display at the defensive end.
Your 2 votes. This man did another great defensive job against the Jack Jumpers as the Taipans got their first win of the season, but he had to do it all. He had to run the ship when Scott Machado got hurt. He had to score for them as well, and he still managed to defend really well. Yeah,
McCall. Look, I gave him votes last week. He's quickly becoming one of my favourite players in the league, and he is a two-way player. I know he came out here with, is he a Bryce Cotton stopper? He's a defensive machine, things like that. No, he can flat out play at both ends, but yes, his real strength is at the defensive end, and that generates easy points at the other way. So, yeah, another 2 points to McCall, just everywhere. Defensive rebounds, deflection, steals, block shots, can do a bit of everything.
And we spoke about this man earlier. The 3 votes was pretty obvious.
7 block shots. And like you said, how tall? How tall?
Yeah, 7-1 at least, maybe 7-3.
Okay.
Depends on who you listen to.
That's right. Look, just amazing. We compared him to Bogut earlier. He just has a good read of the game and utilised in the right ways. They're pretty much sitting him in the key way, but he is willing to get out and guard when need be. But when you can have as big an influence on the game, no pun intended, with making teams turn down open looks just to get the ball away from you, it's huge. So no surprise here. We had 7 blocks either side for Melbourne versus South East Melbourne, but I could only choose one.
No, there we go. That's the Damo Award thanks to Everlast Drinks. Now it's time for the Redhage, our Player of the Year Award. Now, Sean Redhage has provided these votes once again. Tell me if you can disagree with any of this. Damo's gone. 1 vote, Dusty Hanners from the 36ers. 2 votes for Zhou Qi from the Phoenix. 3 votes, Lamar Patterson from the Bullets. 4 votes, Drop Reith from the Hawks, and then 5 votes. Mitch Creek, we didn't even talk about his 36 points on Friday night. There was a career high for him. He's got the 5 votes.
Yeah, look, Qi, I just mentioned, had the 3 points defensively. He was great at both ends as well, but take nothing away from those votes. I mean, the only one, Lamar Patterson, was amazing, but was Frank's their best player. I actually think Lamar was, but I know that Frank's got the MVP on the night.
Yep.
They announced him, but I thought Lamar was the big turning point in that second half. So I know it's hard to argue with. Creek has just been phenomenal. I mentioned Reith earlier as the early, after 2 rounds, the MVP selection, but Creek it just seems like a different guy this year. It's gone back to how he was, 2 seasons ago, but better.
Yeah,
like he just playing with the aggression of 2 seasons previous.
But now he's a great shooter too.
But now, you've got to guard him from behind the arc. So, he's doing some special things and will continue to do so. Reith, we've spoken about. Patterson was just clutch. And then Qi and Hannah's, it's hard for me to think of who else I'd slot in there.
Unfortunately. So thanks to Sean Redhage for that. Now, our last award, the best team man. So we've called it the Galen in honour of the late Galen Young, which I'm very happy about. I'm happy to be keeping his legacy alive. Now, I've got some candidates, but I'm happy for you to pick the winner for this week, Damo. I reckon Mitch McCarron, just for the way he leads the 36ers. Cam Bairstow is being the workhorse on that Adelaide team so far. Kyle Adnam, very much underappreciated, but despite what Dean Vickerman said, I think he had two really good games leading a team with a lot of stars. Tajir McCall, we talked about everything that he does earlier. Robert Franks, you just touched on how important he was for the Bullets, and I thought Ty Harrison was unsort of heralded for the job he did for Brisbane too. You can pick one of those or nominate someone yourself, Damo.
No, look, as soon as I saw the nominations, for me, it went straight to Robert Franks. He just gets the job done, and then one thing you don't see is his input during timeouts as well. He's switched on. He does not want any possession taken off, and called out some of his teammates for letting it was Blanchfield, in the first half in particular. Toddy got open a few times. Franks came straight to the bench in a timeout and didn't blast his teammates, but made it known that guy is a shooter. We cannot leave him open, and expected more from his teammates. And for an import in only round 2, just straight away know the scout, know who's knocking it down. This was Todd Blanchfield's first game back after a long injury, and he just did it all. He was a lot of fun to watch, and even when those superstars took over in the second half, he put his hand up just consistently throughout the 40, 50 minutes, and was just consistently really good for them. And I think we're going to be talking about Franks a lot this season.
I think so. So he's the second winner of the Galen Best Team Man Award. Dane Pinot got it last week, and very happy to be paying tribute to Galen Young, as we mentioned. That's been a lot to dissect, Damo. Let's take a deep breath.
Round.
When we come back, we'll be speaking to the one and only Adam Gibson. Okay, back here on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle, and really excited to speak to this man for the first time on the show. Adam Gibson, you're a favourite of ours. You're obviously a long-time opponent of Damian Martin, but I've known you for a long time as well. So great to have you on board. How do we find you today? It's been a pretty hectic couple of days. You were right there for all the action on Sunday.
No, first I appreciate you having me on. Obviously, it's something good me, mate, and obviously Dave, I've got a lot of time for as well. So glad to be on with you guys on the show. And what a weekend! First of all the other games have been amazing to watch. Not a drama in a lot of them, but the one court side for Ricky's dunk, which is one of the best I've seen, and then that was everything that flowed on, the back and forth in the game, just an amazing game. Two great teams going at it, and obviously the game was great for the sport.
Are you housemates with Creaky? Is that correct?
I am, yeah. We live together. It's quite interesting, but no, it's good fun.
How was he when he started to calm down and got to have a bit of a laugh about what happened? And is his jaw okay, or is that just playing it up a little bit to the camera?
No, his jaw is fine. I think he took a little hit, but more adrenaline, I think. And once he calmed down, just a lot of fun, and just the traction he got online and whatever afterwards. But obviously, yourself when you're in the heat of the battle and get into a bit of a push and shove and everyone's up and about, kind of lose your marbles a little bit. But he was just super high from the dunk and just the moment of the game, and then obviously the shove. So he did such an incredible response after the game. It was good to see.
Oh, look, I agree. I think it's one of the best dunks I've ever seen in the NBL. You knew that Delhi was going to go from it. You know Delhi as good as anyone. He was always going to contest. But Creek, man, that was impressive. The only thing I can say was better than the dunk was when the photo came out on Creaky's Instagram account and he's tagged Peatling in it. That's all he had. Just tagged him in it with that photo. I thought that was just brilliant.
It was quite elite. Delhi first of all. Delhi, he didn't really jump. It was like he kind of landed a pothole and didn't get enough push on, which probably got me a little bit. But you're right, Delhi was always going to make the play on that. But what a dunk. And everything that played afterwards. The NBL have been searching for a bit of drama and a rivalry. And we kind of had that a little bit with United being two Melbourne teams. But to add this in now for the next game, I think it'll be make a pretty special series and whatever moving forward.
And what is your role currently with Southeast? I mean, Pikey and I were saying that it blows our mind that you're not still playing. I mean, I know you've racked up 436, I want to say, NBL games, obviously 2 World Championships, London Olympian, best defensive player, 2 NBL titles. Like I said, it blows my mind you're not still currently playing. I've got you tipped to play 500 plus NBL games. What's your current role, and have you spoken with other teams, or you can't really touch on that as a player?
Yeah, obviously playing for 15 years, I've had a lot of injuries over the last few, like calf issues and just missing games, so it's pretty hard, as you would know, Damo, to keep up and stay fit and healthy. So I completely understand why the club didn't want to re-sign me from that point of view. And a lot of it's time and place. I'm no doubt if I was on another team, still being around, I would still have a contract, but, we have some great young players, and I totally understand they're clearly going to take my spot at some point. So, yeah, I haven't really had too much interest in other teams. So my role at the club now is a bit of everything. I'm kind of volunteering my time. I'm learning the coaching roles. I'm down as a development coach, learning all the huddle and sports code, all that kind of stuff. I was training a little bit, some kind of training. I'm doing some coaching, some video, a bit of all over the place. So just kind of learning and putting some things, I guess, to the resume, so that moving forward I'll have those things ticked off if something pops up in the near future.
But are you staying in game shape? Like hypothetically, even if it's not Southeast, there's injuries to other teams, which inevitably happens every year. A COVID anything, can the club call you and bring you in?
Yeah, definitely. I'm in pretty good nick. My body kind of stays as it is. So like I said, all preseason I was working out. We obviously had limited numbers, so I was a training player and still put in the work there. I've kind of had a couple of weeks off, but I trained again today with the young guys, so still staying in games, still staying ready. The kind of goal was like Timmy Conrad's done in Illawarra, kind of that injury replacement style of fit. So yeah, just staying ready. If something pops up, it pops up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's why I haven't announced kind of a retirement or anything yet, because I still want to keep playing. But I'm kind of just making it up as I go along, I guess, like staying ready just in case.
You're obviously a Tasmanian boy originally. I mean, I'm amazed that the Jack Jumpers didn't announce you as their first signing, let alone a signing at all. Did you have any conversations with anyone from the Jack Jumpers?
Yeah, I had during the season, we played Perth in Perth, right at the start, and obviously Scott just got the job, so kind of sitting outside of the stadium, had a brief chat. There was a brief conversation, kind of a little bit of interest halfway through the season, but obviously nothing was going to get done then. And then basically nothing since. So, they chose their roster who they wanted. It would have been awesome to finish up in my hometown, but they chose to sign other pieces, so that is what it is.
Oh, you better believe as soon as we finish this, I'll be messaging both Jacob Chance and Scott Roth saying, what are you doing? Bring him in. Oh, look, I love that you're staying involved in the game. Every time you do start putting pen to paper for a retirement speech, just crumple it up, throw it in the bin. There's still a long way to go as far as I'm concerned. Mate, I know we've taken up some of your time already, but give me your thoughts on where the league's at, and in particular, standout teams. You can't say Southeast. You're not allowed to say them in any of this, but some players and teams in particular you're liking.
Well, obviously, the start of the season's been unreal. One good thing about it, there's so many different players, obviously more imports, different imports. Coaches have changed, so now teams are running different systems. Perth have done the same thing for 10 years. They've brought in new codes. Brisbane with James Dunn, the new coaches and new systems. So teams are playing a different way and different imports. Obviously, besides ourselves, I think when Perth are healthy, they're going to be always a problem. You see Brisbane, I think they'll get their chemistry back. They've had their core. Lamar's in great shape. He had a great game. Sydney has some great pieces. I think it's going to be real even here. I think Illawarra will probably be one of the favourites. George has got his team he wanted, a great even balance, great imports. There's some athletes in the league as well. So the NBL is in an absolutely great position. And I think it's up for grabs. I don't think there's one or two teams that are going to pin to the top. I think any given night, like always, different teams will win. But yeah, if I can't say myself, probably Illawarra and Perth will be the other two.
It's amazing how far the league's come right now as well. We were all involved back in 2009 when there was a chance that we wouldn't have an NBL season at all coming back into that.
Mate, you're talking
2009-10
we're talking to a player who was with the Bullets, then they folded.
I know.
The Blaze no longer. The Dragons no
exactly.
longer.
I remember.
There's a reason Tassie didn't pick him up, mate, or no team. They want to be around for years to come.
I remember speaking to Gibbo about exactly that. When he left from Adelaide to go to Brisbane, it was the first time he's ever been able to make a decision on his own to leave a club, and the club he left at actually still existed. I mean, it's remarkable how far the league's come. Right now, I think, compare it to the A-League or the Big Bash, I think the NBL is probably the strongest summer league going right now.
Thanks for bringing up those past demons. Like I had 3 teams fold, and I can guarantee I wasn't taking all the money. But even when I left Adelaide, Adelaide were in a little bit of trouble there for a while. There was shit going on too, so I snuck away from there. But you're right. I think there was 13 teams back when we kind of started, and it got down to 8, almost down to 7, and it was in a really bad place. But to see where it is now, that NBA connection, the traction it's got online and the media, and it's pretty amazing. I wish I was starting my career now just to be a part of what I think is going to be an unbelievable NBL moving forward. But it's in great hands, it's in great shape, young talent. The standard of gameplay right now is also so it's in a great position.
Now, I know Damo didn't want you to talk about the Phoenix, but I want you to tell me what it's like seeing Zhou Qi up close and personal every day and the impact he's having, because there's probably some people that weren't sure exactly what to expect from him. Maybe it was a bit of a gimmick signing, potentially even coming into the season. But right now, we've talked about him earlier in the show. He's right up there in MVP voting. Damo's got him right up there in his best defensive player voting. He's having a massive impact. What's it like seeing him up close and personal every day?
He's just a huge human being. Like, he can't, he's just the height of the man, but then, like, he's just not even jumping. Just like he's playing against little kids sometimes. He just puts his hands above, players and just rips the ball off them. Obviously, his block shots and whatever. Obviously, a great player. Like, his athleticism around the hoop. He moves his feet really well for a 7'2" kind of player. Like, he can sit down and guard guards and use his length to stay in front of people. But he's a funny guy. His English isn't too bad. Like, he understands a fair bit. But just great around the group. Personality is like next level, and he's having a great season. So he wanted to come out and show what he can do and prove that he's obviously a great player and he's doing that. And that's I think that's what we did with the fans. We've missed that real big that kind of like Andrew Bogut in Sydney, some of the block shots and deters players from coming in the paint. So it's going to take our club to a new level for sure. But not just us, but the NBL.
And we mentioned Creaky in the show already. He's just been brilliant in both rounds to begin the season. But the guy I'm loving back out there seems to get has his mojo back. Ryan Brokoff, does he seem like a different person, more so than player from last season when he got brought into now?
100%. He's one of the, besides Creaky, like, there's a reason why Creaky playing so well. The work they do in the off-season. Creaky, Brownie had a great off-season. He put in the work, the amount of hours in the gym, getting stronger, working on his body. He came in underdone last year. He had a hamstring injury, a few issues, but he put in the time, he put in the work in the gym all off season, and it's starting to show. Both of those guys, Creaky and Rowdy, they work their ass off. And Creaky's the strongest he's ever been because he boxes, he lives just relentlessly, like stuff. He takes care of his body, and Rowdy's the same. He's, like I said, had a great off season. He's stronger now. He's playing defense. Like, I've been super impressed with his head stuff that he's been doing. So. Yeah, two great pieces having great years and hopefully they can keep on.
You talked earlier about living with Creaky. You've been through a lot of lockdowns over the last 2 years in Melbourne. Can you give some sort of insight?
Creaky doesn't come across the type of guy that enjoys being locked up. Well, it seems like he needs a bit of freedom.
Yeah, can you give us some sort of insight what it's like living in lockdown with Mitch Creek?
I can't give a lot of insight, but it's great that we live in a pretty big house, so we have kind of two upstairs and downstairs, so he kind of does everything upstairs. We've got a big backyard, so we're able to kind of work out stuff. This is the first lockdown. We worked out and did a lot. The second one was pretty tough. We kind of stayed inside, and it was a bit of a grind. But the area we live in is great. Obviously, we used to get an hour of yard time out, go to walk to the park, or get ovals close. So, he's great to live with. Like I said, most of the time we do our own thing, but when we talk together, hang out, whatever. James Bay, he was always up and about. You're right, he can't feel, but he's a great roommate to have as well.
Now, you've got such a long history with Damian Martin as well. When you think of Damo and your 15 years of playing against each other, or
mate.
or any stories that
wrap up the segment,
come to mind, what comes to mind when you think of Damo?
Are we talking on the court or off the court?
Let's go off the court. We all saw what he did on the court.
On the court, obviously, his numbers speak for himself. What he read out about me, times that by two, and there about Damo's numbers. But off the court, there's a reason why everyone loves Damo. I don't want to pump him up too much, give him a big head, but it's a great teammate. A few Aussie road trips, tours away and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Hanging around, even funny when he turns up on a bus with two different shoes. That's stuff. You can't put a price on some moments like that. So, all good fun.
We had a great night. I still owe Gibbo and Paddy, I owe the biggest thank you to, as drunk as I was and slept through my alarm. Thank goodness Paddy did. Oh, Brett Brown ripped him and Dan Kicker. The manager walked into our room. We slept through the alarm to fly from London to Spain. And the managers walked into ours like, guys, get up, get on the bus. And Kicker just like, no, I'll get on the next one. We're like, mate, it's an international flight. We actually really need to go. And I couldn't find matching shoes. I think I still might have been under the weather a bit. But no, good times. In saying that, I'll send you a case of Everlast for the nice words and me being able to give a plug.
I like it.
Speaking of that, Gibbo, along those lines, have you stocked up for Christmas from Hoop 7?
No, I haven't, but JC always looks after me when I get over there, so I'm going to try and work a way to come over and fly with the team somehow. Maybe with, because I started my own business, AdamGibson1.com. Feel free to check that out. Hopefully fly over and be a part of the team and still sit on the bench and go see Jason and the boys down there, because for a good 10 plus years he hooked me up with playing shoes. So love those guys. I'd be happy to take some of those Everlast drinks. I see them there, they look delicious. So I'm all about it.
I tell you what, if you do come over with the team, Gibbo, you'll have to come join us and sit with us for an episode too at the same time.
Lock it in.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining us, Gibbo. One more time, if anyone wants to get some one-on-one coaching or be able to pick your brain, an absolute mastermind of the NBL, of international basketball, where do they go again?
AdamGibson1.com for the number one. Yeah, it's been awesome starting that up. It's actually crazy. I think I'm making more now than I was playing. So I might have been doing the wrong thing for 15, 16 years. But it's been awesome coaching a lot of kids, anyone from all ages, special needs. It's been awesome, really rewarding. So check it out if anyone wants to keep me up.
Awesome. And let's be honest, Damo, it's probably much better than anything you get from Redhage Basketball.
Redhage Basketball Academy? Nah, Adam Gibson, number one. I'll be straight there.
There we go.
Very good. Gibbo, thanks for joining us. You're a legend. You're going to be a part of the show going forward. Can't wait to pick your brain in a few more weeks' time.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me on, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Gibbo.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, back on Hoop 7's basketball hustle, and Damo, that was a lot of fun catching up with Gibbo. He's got a great basketball mind. He's still got a lot to offer on the court. Let's hope we do see him back out there again, but it's going to be good fun catching up with him throughout the season.
You're exactly right. We've got a little insight into what he's currently doing. The reality is he's going to be a great coach at some stage, and the fact that he's preparing for that, I think makes you realise that is the pathway he's going to pursue. I'm just hoping it's not in the near future.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe he should be a 500 game player. And you look at the overtime games. This is where I see Gibbo. You look at that double overtime game. He's the type of player that might have only played 10 or 12 minutes for you during that first 40 minutes.
Yep.
In overtime, you put him out there
Yep.
because he's just got so much experience. He's not going to make any mistakes. He'll make the right reads. And for players who may be a little nervous or a bit edgy in that type of game, not Gibbo. Put him in a corner. He'll knock down a three. Throw him on a great offensive player who'll play lockdown defense. I think we will see him in a jersey at some stage. And like I said, I hope it's sooner rather than later. And then he will go on to be a great coach.
I didn't want to bring it up to him or make a big deal about it to him, but he said he was hoping to go back home to Tasmania to play for the Jack Jumpers. We both agree that he's got plenty left to offer. We look at the Jack Jumpers roster, and without disrespecting anybody, there's room for Adam Gibson on that roster. Did they make a mistake by not signing him?
Well, I think when you're starting a club as a whole, then you should have someone with the type of experience that Gibbo's had. It's championship experience. There's a difference between bringing in someone that's played 200 games versus bringing in someone who's played 400, but say 200 plus.
Yeah.
But
he's won 2 championships, been to the Olympics, been captain of another Adelaide team that went to the grand final.
Yeah, so it ticks a lot of boxes, in particular for a team that is starting out. Look, Scott Roth had a lot of time down in Tassie preparing for this team, building the roster. He's a great coach. Good mate of mine, but I would love to have seen him sign A. Gibson for a number of reasons, but in particular, what he could have brought to the club as a whole in rebuilding.
Touching on Scott Roth, before we get to our tips and selections for round 3, I spoke to him last week, and it was probably one of the most emotional interviews I've ever done in my life, and I've done thousands of interviews probably over the last 15 years, but I wasn't expecting it to go this way. But he just opened up about everything he's been through in the last 14 or 15 months, and the pain that he's suffering still from being separated from his wife and his daughter. He hasn't seen them. I know you can talk to them through Skype or whatever, but he just talked about the fact that they need him back home for things. There's things that they need him for to physically come and do for them that he just can't do from the other side of the world. And he said he's been to some really dark places, and he has been in a really bad place mentally for a lot of this time building this Jack Jumpers team, where a lot of the time he's probably been stuck in a house by himself trying to build a team for a long time after he left Perth, and then probably even more so recently, with the holiday season. It's how tough it is. You just said you know him pretty well and have spent some time with him. I mean, it was a remarkable story for him to share pain that he's been through. I mean, could you imagine going through what he's going through?
And he's only talking about the last 14 months, I believe, when he was chatting with you. Prior to that, he was coaching in China.
Yeah.
So obviously he's here with the Wildcats.
The difference was then they could come to visit him and he could go back home. Right now, he hasn't had that chance.
Exactly, but even then it was sporadic.
Yeah.
So even though it's been 14 consecutive months of no visits whatsoever, before that it was only a handful of, because it wasn't the plan to leave America and then just not return essentially for 3 years. And so the sacrifices he's made to take on a head coaching gig here in the NBL, to start up, to travel around the whole state of Tasmania, to build a complete roster. And it's more than the roster. It's little things like helping with uniform designs, helping with promoting the game, the initial marketing, memberships, getting out there and talking to other coaches. It's a huge job, and it's made so much easier when you get to come home to a loved one, embrace your children, cuddle your children. With the time difference, he's lost that. Yeah. So it is. My heart breaks for him because he is a family man first and foremost, and he's doing this for his family. Like, they need an income, and it's too good of an opportunity to say no. I hope that with borders opening up, vaccines, whatever it may be, whatever it's going to take.
Can you imagine that reunion when they see each other again for the first time?
He will be an emotional wreck, and it'll be the most beautiful moment, and he deserves such a moment with his loved ones. So I'm hoping that Tassie do some great things on the court for their coach, but more importantly, I'm hoping that behind the scenes we see a ticket booked and they can somehow get permission to get out here, and who knows when or if that'll be. Yeah,
let's hope so. Okay, let's get to our preview for round 3 of the NBL. If it's anything like round 2, we're in for something pretty special. So this is thanks to TapTouch. Head to taptouch.com.au for more. Now, would you believe, after how badly Sean Redhage and Matty Knight did on their tips last season, Damo, Matty Knight so far this year is 6 from 6. He's raised a lot of money for the Brain Cancer Foundation already.
Good for Matty Knight. I need to start paying more attention to his tips.
And Sean only missed out going 6 from 6 with Perth losing in double overtime.
That's impressive. I will have to read who their predictions are this week, because it's another blockbuster weekend with plenty of games that could go either way.
Well, look at this one Thursday night to start with. Melbourne United and the Sydney Kings.
When's Goulding back, do you know?
He will be back for this game.
Yeah, okay. With that in mind, I'm going to go Melbourne. I just saw enough late to, Delhi finishes with 19 points, 10 rebounds.
He looked good, didn't he?
Yeah, so he's starting to get full control out there. JLA, who we mentioned earlier, credited for scoring the ball, but
he won't have his shots blocked this time.
Exactly right. Look, there's just a whole lot to like about Melbourne, and with Goulding back, it just adds another dimension. Sydney is still injury plagued.
Yep.
Sydney at full strength.
I don't think any of the 4 guys the Kings are missing are expected back.
Yeah, so that's why I'm going to tip Melbourne in that one. And then Friday night, double header. Hawks, New Zealand. Who have you got?
No, I think the Hawks far too strong. Unfortunately, the Breakers still struggling now. Peyton Siever's out for 6 weeks, and I think they're going to have to bring in a replacement. Abercrombie's still not back. Yeah. So I think the Hawks far too much firepower. Friday night, are you on the microphone for the Bullets Wildcats rematch?
I will be. Perth, Brisbane. Can it go to another double overtime? Look, I think Perth are going to have more of a focal point on the rebound count. It's one of those things that you win a rebound count, I think 80% of the time you win the scoreboard. So they were beaten quite convincingly on the rebound count in that first half and overall. So yeah, I'm going to tip Perth to have a focal point on the rebound count. I do expect Fraser to play. So we'll see all 3 imports play together for the first time. Toddy Blanchard with 1 game under his belt. He's going to play more minutes. Luke Travers was solid but didn't shoot the ball as well as he can. So I think we're going to see a better performance. And with those 3 things in particular from those 3 guys, plus the rebounding factor, I expect Perth to bounce back and get a win here.
We'll race through these. Saturday, Sydney Kings and the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix.
Well, it's not often I expect Sydney to get swept because I've got them in my top 4 at the end of the season. But I just really like what I'm seeing from Southeast. We've spoken about their guys throughout the show already. Going with Southeast.
And then second up, this will be an interesting one. I'm not sure about the health of Scotty Machado, which I think will have a big say in it. But the Taipans at home to the 36ers.
Taipans if Machado's in, Adelaide if they're out. Sunday Detch has been a huge piece of the puzzle that's missing right now for Adelaide. So I think they're going to love getting Sunday back. But yeah, Cairns at full strength at home are always hard to beat.
Now these Sunday triple headers are pretty appetising. First one, it's a tough one for the Breakers. Up against Melbourne United.
Well, less than 48 hours after facing Illawarra Hawks, who are playing great basketball, they've got to face Melbourne. Now, obviously, Melbourne are also playing, but they had that extra sleep. They're playing on Thursday opposed to
And they've
Friday.
got a deeper rotation. The Breakers are basically playing with 6 guys.
Yeah, Abercrombie's a huge out. That injury just really hurts them. Melbourne again, unfortunately, I see the Breakers not not having a win by the end of round 3.
Bullets, first home game of the season up against the Hawks.
Yeah, I think Brisbane will get this one. I just really enjoyed the depth they've got, the style of play. I loved listening in on their coach. He was so calm. His communication is brilliant. Now, he got after players when he needed to get after players.
James Duncan, you're talking about.
Apologies.
He's very, very smartly dressed too, isn't he?
Very smartly dressed. Look, we had 2 Canadian coaches going against each other. We will again on Friday. Scott Morrison and James go way back. They've known each other a long time. But I think Duncan's got these guys playing at a level that's going to see them, threaten for a finals position. And I think they will get the win over those Hawks.
Last up. Let's hope that Sean Redhage is back and we get a break from you, Damo. But the Wildcats at home to the Jack Jumpers. If anyone knows the Wildcats well, it's this Jack Jumpers team.
You're exactly right. It's a lot of former Wildcats, both on the playing roster and in the coaching staff. I think Perth at home, they're just going to get them. Simply put, I think they're just going to get it done there in Perth. It's their last game for a long time, potentially, at least until the borders
After
open
February
up.
5th now, at least.
Yeah, so I think they're going to make the most of this opportunity.
There we go. That's Damian Martin's thoughts on round 3. What a round it was in the NBL, Damo. I hope we've done it some sort of justice. Thanks to Adam Gibson for joining us. And now, next week on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle, Alex Loughton. Give us some sort of insight on what the old co-host of the Pikey and Louse show might offer us next week, Damo.
Honesty, comedy factor, high basketball IQ, and just a very laid-back guy. So on the court, he could do it all. Off the court, you love to be around him. And, yeah, it's a pleasure to have him. Similar to Gibbo and Rob Beveridge, they'll be voicing their opinions every few weeks. And, yeah, bring on Alex next one.